Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Orion. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, I want to talk to you about time stretching. Now, this might sound a little bit crazy, but hear me out. This is an idea that I've been working through for a while, and it's how you can create more time in your life. And while this isn't exactly creating time out of nowhere, it's simply messing with the perception of time and therefore possibly generating more time for yourself. So check this out. What I'm proposing here isn't that we are creating time out of nothing. There are a lot of really cool books out there about time management and how to make the most of your time. What I'm proposing here is simply changing how we think about time, and in doing so, potentially stretching time for yourself. This is an idea I haven't fully cooked up yet, but I'm working through it, and I wanted to throw some of the core pillars of the idea your way, so maybe it would help you out. So if you want to check it out, below are the timestamps for the different pieces we're going to jump into if you just want to jump to the end, exactly what the theory is, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory and then some of the theory and the process around this idea. So let's do it. One thing I want to talk to you about real quick is that this isn't about living forever, because it's actually the opposite. I think it's how do we live a more fulfilling life. There are so many tales and ideas out there of how living forever actually isn't a great idea. There's Tuck Everlasting. There's the Greek god, I believe his name is Tithonus, who was granted eternal life but didn't get eternal youth, so he just continues to live forever, continues to age. Time is our most limited resource, period. Why? Because we can't make more of it. Because it is so limited, that's what makes it special. If you are spending time with me, if you're spending time with somebody, that means you aren't doing something else that you could be doing. Since time is our most limited resource, it makes it special. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is not trying to live forever, not trying to be 150 and be crippled and extend our lifespan. It's how can you be happy with the time that you have and make the most of it. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Kia, that sounds cool, but how? What I'm proposing to you is simply to create memories that feel like they last longer than they actually do. Okay, so let me toss you some questions. Have you ever had a weekend that felt like it was a week or a month? Have you ever spent months that felt like they were simply days? Have you spent years that felt like they were moments? This is because time will pass, period. What changes is simply our perception of it. What I want to talk to you right now are things called anchor points. These are memories that are specifically powerful that you can remember vividly. I've been traveling for about the last 5 years. I can remember most of the hikes I've been on, most of the waterfalls I've seen, water pits I've jumped on, beaches I've been to, and that's because these memories were significant. Have you ever been in a car accident? I hate to say it, but if you ever experienced something super exciting or super traumatic, you'll know what I'm talking about. I can remember being in a car accident when I was maybe 14, 15. I remember the details so vividly. I can remember seeing the car coming up in our lane, driving towards us. I remember my dad swerving the car into the bank. I remember waking up and seeing him with blood coming down his cheek. Why? Because when things are exciting, intense, traumatic, whatever, our brain remembers the vivid details. And this is what I'm talking about, is it's not about actually changing time itself. It's about intentionally changing our perception. That's really the difference here, is how we're viewing times. How can we create anchor points, that's what I'm calling them, so that our memory and our brain is saying, oh wow, this is something important, I should hold on to it better. I also want to mention that memory is fallible, which means that it can be changed. This is why you think your first car was blue, your parents swear that it was red, you look at photos and realize that it was purple. It's because it's proven that your memory is flexible, right? It can open files, almost like a Word document, and then like change them and save as, which is why arguments happen all the time over memory, which is why memory isn't always a very trusted resource. But this is also what makes it powerful, is that you can intentionally create ways so that memories will stick in your brain better. So let's talk about it. What I'm proposing here is intentionally creating opportunities for novelty or change. Now, when I break this down, when I was coming up with this theory, I realized that there are certain things that you can change. I like to live in a routine. I always joke that I'm part robot. Talk to anybody I know, they'll make the joke that I'm part robot. It's because I like to do the same thing at the same time every single day, no matter where I am. Even though I've been traveling for the last 5 years, if I'm in Asia, if I'm in Malaysia, in Medellin, in Mexico, I'm gonna be doing the same thing every single day for the most part. So when I was thinking about this, for the memories that stick with me the most, I realized it came down to 3 things: location, activity, and people. Those are the 3 things that you can change in my opinion, that your brain will then want to latch onto things. If you've ever gone camping for a weekend, you know what I'm talking about. You're switching the activity, you're switching the location. If you go with friends or strangers or new people, then you're even doing all three bang for your buck, which is why you can probably remember most of the camping trips you've been on. For me, even though I stay in the same routine, I'll switch up my location, and that helps me say, okay, I remember the songs that I wrote when I was here in this city. I remember the stories I was working on when I was in this city. I remember the projects I was working on here. If I switch up the location for myself, even though I'm a creature habit of routine, I find that it helps me latch on to certain memories better. Another way you can do this though is switching up your activity. When I was in Medellin last year, I started taking dance classes almost every afternoon, 4 or 5 nights a week. Now when I look back on that time, it's very easy for me to say, I remember these 3-4 months because it was filled with dance. I'm not saying you have to take up dance, but what I'm saying is, if your days start to feel the exact same, you feel like you're stuck in Groundhog Day and it's the same thing all the time, do something different. Pick up a new hobby, change up the scenery, do something to intentionally change whatever you're doing, where you're doing it, or who you're doing it with, and I promise you your brain will remember that time better. So we've talked about changing the location, we've talked about changing activity. The third thing I want to mention is changing up the people in your life. We always like to spend the same time with the same people. But if you do something like join a book club, you might be getting a new activity and a new location and new people. I found that in my life, changing the people, whatever I'm doing activities with, is one of the best way for me to remember that time as well. I remember really good dates. I remember really bad dates. I remember different times with lovers. I remember there's this one girl that I adored, and we had maybe 4 months together, 5 months together, but in my mind, that real estate, the mental real estate with that woman feels like it was years. At the same time, I've had a weekend that felt like it lasted a lifetime. So I think there are really important pieces to this puzzle of memory, and incorporating people to make memories feel special and to make really memories feel like they have some sort of gravitational force, so they really sit in your memory better. So to recap, y'all, I just want to throw this out. This idea of time stretching. Why live for 150 years if instead you can just live for 80 but feel like you live for 150? Because if you can make 2 months feel like 6, maybe you don't actually have to create more time. Maybe you just need to learn how to stretch it a little bit better. How do we do that? With location, with activity, with people. I know it's a little bit crazy, half-baked idea, but it's something I'm running with, an idea I'm excited about. How can we intentionally create more of these changes in our lives so that our brain remembers these things and holds on to them better? Thanks so much for tuning in. Smash like, subscribe, press all the buttons, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.